Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you all. This is going to be our other festival video for this month, as we have two festivals going on, the Anthology event as well as the Synchro festival. And funnily enough, I actually ended up using not the exact same list, but the same general deck for both events, and those are zombies. I wanted to kind of show a deck that you could use for both events, and also one that I hadn't seen too many people talking about using, and I think zombies fit the bill in both cases. If you are interested in how they performed in the Anthology event, definitely feel free to take a look at that video I posted a few days ago, I think last week at this point, but yeah, it did very well over there, and here in the Synchro Festival, the deck actually performs even better, because Zombie World is legal in this event. Zombie World is not legal in the GX Anthology event, but the deck definitely still functions without it. Here, though, we definitely welcome the card back into the deck here, as, of course, we're able to make very, very good use of it. Honestly, this doesn't build or play too terribly differently than a 60-card zombie deck I would play on like regular rank ladder, like even outside of the Synchro Festival. Particularly the main deck here is almost exactly the same as I would have it anyway. Obviously a few differences, like Kelbek is at 1 here in this event, and I would make some other adjustments to accommodate for like Lynx and Xyz monsters in the extra deck, but for the most part this is definitely just where I want to be with a 60-card zombie deck, again, regardless of the format as far as the main deck here goes. As you can see, we are on grass, of course, being on 60 cards. Zombies is definitely one of the decks that can most easily be on grass, as not only do they love being in the graveyard generally, but there are so many good zombie cards to play that even trying to get the deck down to 40 is very, very difficult when you have all this various stuff you want to play here. As you can see, we have supplemented the zombies with a few different engines. The Punk engine is going to be the main one. We're mainly using this to, of course, as I always use the Punk engine for, to turbo out Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler, the best synchro monster in the game and my favorite card. This card is sweet. I can't believe this card is actually legal in this event. They actually banned Psyframe Lord Omega, but kept Chaos Ruler, which is baffling to me, but okay. For the extra deck, obviously, it's going to be a lot different than most zombie extra decks would be on outside of the Synchro Festival, because, well, we're only on Synchros. But a lot of the cards that we are playing here, we would play anyway. The Immortal Dragon, Immortal Dragon. We have the Chaos Ruler, the Felgrand, Excel Stardust, Baron, Chengying, Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord, Psychic End Punisher. I would be playing all of these even if I wasn't, in the Synchro only event. So, even the Shooting Riser I'd probably also be playing as well. So, just filled the gaps with a few cards of relevant levels. Stardust Charge Warrior, in case we want a non-tuner level 6 monster. Shiranui Squire Saga, again if we want a level 7 non-tuner monster. This effect also does occasionally come up. Crimson Blader I put in for this event because obviously being the Synchro event, a lot of people are going to be, well, Synchro summoning, but this card never came up, but the idea is if you're going second, you can make this battle over an opponent's monster and effectively lock them out of their extra deck in this event for their next turn there. Crimson Blader I think is generally a good level 8 Synchro monster for this event, not just for zombies. Oh, and then I have a couple level 9 synchros, which also never end up coming up, but you do like to have a variety of levels for this deck because of Uni-Zombie. You can summon pretty much any level of synchro monster you want, so again, it definitely pays to have a good variety. You do typically want higher levels because Uni-Zombie is flexible in that it can adjust levels, but it can only increase them. It doesn't have a way to decrease monsters' levels. Thankfully, the card would actually be way too OP if it did that. But yeah, for the most part, we are just tuning for the Chaos Ruler here. And then after the Chaos Ruler, it's pretty much just like whatever we can make, we will. Usually going to be a Baron. Sometimes it's also a Psychic End Punisher. Sometimes it's also the Red-Eye Zombie Dragon Lord. Didn't play Artifact Scythe. I almost did actually, but I was like, yeah, that's maybe a bit too win more here. So ultimately ended up leaving it out. And yeah, a lot of the random zombie monsters here that we are seeing are also part of our other zombie builds. I gotta give a huge shout out to Changshi the Spirado. This card's actually correct. This card looks a little bit weird on paper. It's like a level 6 monster. It can foolish zombies, but only while it's on the field. and then it summons itself, but only when it's banished. But there are actually a lot of ways to banish this card. Of course, namely Chaos Ruler being one of them. But we also have the ability to banish them out of the graveyard with stuff like Fairy Tale Snow. And also, the effect of Gozuki. I know there was a zombie effect I was trying to think of. Gozuki can also banish zombies from our graveyard there too. So lots of different ways to banish the Spirado. I actually kind of want a second copy because this is one of those cards you like literally always want in your graveyard. It's one of those random zombie cards, kind of like Shinobi Necro, where it's like, you know, before I played zombies, I had never actually heard of this card, but then when you actually sit down and play the deck, you're like, wait, this not only is this deck cracked, but this card is actually insane. Alghoul Mazera, another great example of that. You read this card and it's like, it's battle protection, and it sometimes summons itself, whoopee, but it actually comes up a lot. I think there's one game in particular we're going to see where it comes up quite a bit, so... yeah, all in all, had a lot of fun playing with this deck. Oh, and then Balerdroch. Balerdroch was banned for the Anthology event, but is legal here, and I only have the one copy, but that's really all you need. You can fetch it with the Glow Bloom if you really want to, and a lot of the time, you're just only going to really summon this when you happen to incidentally mill it, but if you do incidentally mill it while you have the Zombie World up, this is just free negation every single standby phase, and it comes back, so very, very nice there, but... That's pretty much everything I wanted to discuss as far as this build itself goes. We'll definitely be seeing it a lot more in action here in the games coming up. So I'll list out all these cards, as I always do, and then we will go ahead and take a look at some gameplay. So we are on 1 Glow Bloom, 3 Maxx, 1 Shinobi Necro, 1 Mad Mauler, 3 Uni-Zombie, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Danger, Jackalope, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Ze Amin, 3 Mezuki, 3 Shiranui Solitaire, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, 2 Gozuki, 2 Necroworld Banshee, 1 Keldo the Sacred Protector, 1 Mudora the Sword Oracle, 1 Kelbek the Ancient Vanguard, and then 1 Agido the Ancient Sentinel. We have 2 Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note. You only need 1, but I played a second just in case one gets milled. We have 1 Changshi the Spirado, 3 Danger, Nessie, 1 Doomking Balerdroch, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Foxy Tune, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Ogre Dance, 1 Alghoul Mazera, 1 Foolish Burial, 2 That Grass Looks Greener, 2 Zombie World, 2 Emergency Teleport, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, and then 3 Infinite Impermanence, and that's going to be our 60 card main deck. Now for our all Synchro extra deck, we are on 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, 1 Immortal Dragon, 1 Shooting Riser Dragon, 1 Shiranui Squire Saga, 1 Crimson Blader, 1 Draco Berserker of the Tenyi, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Skeletal Dragon Felgrand, 1 Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech, 1 Ravenous Crocker Dragon Arceus, yep. 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Cheng Yang, 1 Red Eye Zombie Dragon Lord, and then 1 Psychic and Punisher. There is our list. Now let's look at some games. For our first duel, we are going to be up against one of the more popular choices for this event, which is going to be Goatee, or Fish as it's technically pronounced. I feel like we've all heard that fun fact by now. Yeah, so Goatee, definitely one of the go-to cards for this, or decks for this event, like I said. Definitely a good performer in this event as well, but you know, you can only perform so well when you get hit with the grass on turn 1. My opponent does have the Ash Blossom, but I thankfully have the Crossout Designator here as well. Average 60 card deck player opening these 2 cards. It's not average, by the way. I see a lot of people complain about like how, oh, grass players always open it. No, play the 60 card deck and you'll see just how little you actually open grass. But we did in this case, getting a whole bunch of good mills. We milled a Kelbek, a Gozuki, a Necroworld Banshee. I think we also technically could have resolved the Glow Bloom. Yeah, if I hadn't banished that off the Gozuki, which was just a minor misplay on my part. But could have added a level 5 or higher zombie monster on top of everything else we have. So here comes that Changshi the Spirado. Like I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and summon that with the Gozuki effect. And then I will use Mezuki to bring back the Shiranui Solitaire to get myself a Uni-Zombie. The Spirado will send yet another Mezuki, and then I will have the Uni-Zombie. What do I end up sending with that? That's how I sent the Balerdroch. So next turn we'll get the Balerdroch during the standby phase there. Gonna do some excavating with the Chaos Ruler. I'll grab myself this Ogre Dance, let everything else fall off into the graveyard, activating the Ogre Dance effect in order to grab ourselves a Deer Note. Now we're going to utilize the Deer Note effect, revealing the Foxy Tune to summon itself. We didn't grab a Ze Amin because I believe we actually milled all 3 copies of it there. Yep, all 3 in the graveyard. So, gonna bring one of them back with Mezuki. We do have Zombie World in play, so thankfully Ze Amin, along with every card in our graveyard, is a zombie. Grabbing a Draco Berserker of the Tenny just to end on basically another point of negation here. Now you have to sync the Ze Amin with the Chaos Ruler in order to make ourselves a Psychic and a Punisher. I'm going to utilize the 3rd Mezuki in my graveyard to bring back Uni-Zombie, activating the other effect to discard Foxy Tune. Opponent's got a Nibiru for us, so we definitely walked right into that one, unfortunately. Yeah, there's actually been a lot of Nibirus in this event, which of course makes sense given how there's no tier limits or sprites here. I should have played Nibiru myself, actually, just didn't think about it. We get to keep the Psychic and Punisher, thankfully, because it's not affected by the activated effect of the Nibiru there. We'll get back our Balerdroch. Opponent's got an Imperm for it, which is a little annoying, but we'll definitely deal. Pure Reasonap's going to grab the beautiful Tuna... What is it? Beautunaful Princess, that's what it is. And then the Supe card is coming out here as well. Supe Duskwalker, that's what it is. Our opponent gets a Coral Dragon along with this Lifeless Leaf Fish. Looks like we're going to sync those off for a level 10 Synchro monster, a Baron de Fleur. So our opponent did have a huge board wipe for us, but thankfully it seems their board state has really only amounted to this Baron getting dropped. And also thankfully for me, I have the Alghoul Mazera in my graveyard, so gonna banish that to prevent the destruction. Try to bring it back as well, but the Baron's gonna use its Omni-Negate effect on that effect, so Alghoul Mazera will not be coming back. And then at this point, I think my opponent realized, like, oh, I used my only point of negation only for my opponent to still have a board that's capable of beating mine. So, yeah. Beat the Nibiru that wiped us, beat the follow-up Omni-Negate in the form of a Baron. I mean, our opponent mostly did that for us, but all the same, we managed to have a very strong turn one that played through multiple points of disruption. So, very cool, very nice. We, of course, still have more games to watch with this deck. Let's go straight into the next one here. And here's the match against the other most popular deck for the Synchro Festival here, and that's, of course, going to be Sword Soul. I almost played Sword Soul just because, of course, you know, they're an easy choice. You already have the deck, or I already have the deck anyway. Most people have the deck, so that's definitely understandable why a lot of people just turn to it. But again, I wanted to try something a little bit different, something that could be used for both events. So ultimately landed with zombies here. Now here I'm going to do a punk line that looks a little bit weird, particularly using the Deernote 2 special, the Ze Amin for my deck. But I wanted to do it that way, so that way I still had my normal summon for this Uni-Zombie after I excavated with Chaos Ruler here. Figured the information from Chaos Ruler's excavate would be more relevant to planning out this turn, as opposed to just Uni-Zombies mills here. So we hit an Agido, that's pretty nice. There's a Fairy Tale Snow going away as well. I will opt not to add the snow, I'll just put it in the graveyard. Here comes the Agido. Agido milled us Alghoul Mazera. That's really the only relevant thing it milled us. Otherwise, it's just dangers and some hand traps. But the Alghoul Mazera we definitely do not mind seeing in the graveyard there. Alright, Chaos Ruler is going to banish, as you might have noticed, Changshi the Spirado. I cannot talk this card up enough and how just stellar it was in terms of, like, being an extender, offering advantage, so on and so forth. Here it's going to allow us to set up the zombie world with the Necroworld Banshee by sending that to the graveyard, so that's pretty rad. It also banished the Alghoul Mazera, which allowed the Mazera to bring itself back with its own effect. Now I'm going to sync it with my level 4 zombie, Uni-Zombie rather, for a Baron, using Mezuki to bring back the Uni-Zombie once again, this time syncing for another 10. Gonna be Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Changing at this point. Setting an Imperm before passing over to our opponent here. And yeah, we have 4 extremely powerful Synchro monsters in play. Definitely can't get any better for this event. Who's going to start off with a Tinny Spirit Vishuda. I'm going to utilize my Fairy Tale Snow to trigger the effect of Changing to banish both the Vishuda as well as the Ashina that's in their graveyard. That might have been shotgunning things a bit too early though. Maybe there was definitely some consideration for holding the Snow for when my opponent has like multiple monsters on the field. That way I could turn one face down and then banish the other with Changing instead of only getting one like I did there. And as you can see, our opponent is still going. I'm still holding this Omni-Negate here, but I will end up using it on the Long Yawn right here. So it's going to end up getting negated and destroyed. I believe we know one of the cards in our opponent's hand. Oh, the Emergence that our opponent revealed with Moe a little while ago. Thankfully, not only is that Emergence not going to be an issue, but also our opponent's kind of limited in actually what Synchro monsters they can go for. Thanks to Zombie World, everything on the field and in the graveyard is a zombie monster, so they can't sync for Bashia, they can't sync for Chi Xiao, they can't go for... Is Chi Xing Longyan? Does that require Sword Soul or Worm Monsters? I don't exactly recall, but long story short, there are quite a few things they can't summon. The Psychic Punisher, however, is ultimately going to be something they can play. My opponent actually ends up conceding, like mid-combo there. I guess they just decided they weren't able to break my board, particularly my Psychic Punisher. And indeed, they actually have a hard time battling there without just putting the life points in my favor. Yeah, I was kind of surprised they didn't, although maybe they just didn't have the ability to summon another monster. I thought they were going to summon another monster, activate their End Punisher, which would have put their life points lower, and they could have dealt with mine. But I guess they just didn't have the ability to, because they did ultimately just end up conceding there, which, you know, hey, I will definitely not argue against. I got a couple more games to look at. Let's go straight into the next one. And for this next one, we were up against Naturia, a very disruption-heavy Naturia deck, as they are not only playing a lot of the, well, disruption Naturia cards, but 3 Nibiru, 3 Imperm, 3, of course, Sea and Ash Blossom on top of that. Opponent is definitely ready to stop me from making plays, but thankfully I opened a hand going second that will do a lot of the same. I opened to both Maxi and Ash Blossom. Maxi is going to get met with a Called by the Grave here. We do still have that Ash Blossom in order to ensure that we have plays. The rest of our hand, though, we definitely do need to draw, like, some... basically any amount of our tuners, really, in order to have any real action going on here. Now, our draw for turn is going to be Changshi, once again, the Spirado. So I'm just going to normal summon this Mezuki, battle over the Naturia Rose Whip. I'll throw down a Zombie World that might end up messing up my opponent a little bit. Naturia's tend to care a lot about, like, beasts, insects, and plants, so I'm thinking maybe the Zombie World can mess them up a little bit by turning stuff into zombies. So here I'm actually going to tribute the Mezuki in order to tribute summon the Changshi the Spirado, sending a Uni-Zombie from deck to graveyard. Mezuki's effect will activate, bringing back the Uni-Zombie, but my opponent is going to fire off a Maxx here. Thankfully, I have the Ash Blossom, so I'll go ahead and just counter with that. And if they have another follow-up, I have the Call By to help out, but they don't, so thankfully we get to hang on to our Call By for the time being. That's it. Like I said, Mezuki is going to bring back the Uni-Zombie. Uni-Zombie I'll send and just yet another Mezuki. Sync for 10 to go for the Baron de Fleur. I'm actually going to save that other Mezuki for the next turn because I don't think I have access to lethal on this turn, no matter what I summon. So I'll just pop their monster, battle with Baron, and the next turn use Mezuki to either bring back Uni-Zombie or Changshi, whichever ends up being more useful. But it's going to T-set and pass. It looks like they just did not have that great of a hand here, unfortunately for them. I'm going to use Baron's effect once again to pop the face-down monster. Opponent's going to chain with the Naturia Sacred Tree, but I'm just going to chain with Baron's Negate effect. Like, yes, they'll get to search off of the Naturia Sacred Tree, but none of the Naturia monsters have, like, scary in-hand quick effects, so I don't care if they're going to search, and I can just end the duel very easily on this turn. Normal summoning this Fairy Tale Snow, just going to move to battle phase, not even bothering with the Mezuki in my graveyard. I could have made a lot more of a board here, but it's like, you know, we'll just end the duel while we already have lethal on the field. There's no reason to drag it out. And in this case, given that they have nothing on board, I have extremely few cards in hand, most of which I know, I don't think they're going to have anything like surprise for me. So there's that game. We have one more to watch. Let's go straight into it here. And for our final duel, we're up against Red... the archetype, you know, like Red Resonator, Red Warg, all that fun stuff. The Red Dragon Archfiend archetype. I think this is actually one of the loner decks, because I know one of them is red-themed, and just looking at... when I looked at my opponent's deck, just the way it was built, I was like, yeah, this feels like a loner deck. Namely in that it doesn't have, like, Maxis, Ash Blossoms, Call Bys. It's got a couple of Veilers, but that's pretty much it as far as disruption goes, so... they get to start off by sinking for 6, going for the Red Riser Dragon to bring back the Red Resonator. That will, of course, allow them to not only gain some life points, but sink for 8. Gonna grab some amount of a Red Dragon Archfiend is what I thought, but no, it looks like Chaos Ruler is coming down. If this is part of the loner decks, I've actually considered me thoroughly impressed that Chaos Ruler is part of it. That's probably why the card got left untouched, to be totally honest. Looks like they're grabbing a Synchron Resonator, Synchron with a K, so that we know it's not part of the archetype. I'm going to special that and then sync off the Chaos Ruler for a hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss to provide an Omni Negate for my opponent here. Synchron Resonator, we'll let them get back the Creation Resonator, and we're going to set 2 cards before passing it back. So opponent does end with an Omni Negate and a couple of back rows, but thankfully for me, I'm just the luckiest player in the world, and I get to just rip Imperm off the top of my deck to utilize against this Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, so that way it's, in this case, already used up its Omni Negate effect. So slapping down a Zombie World, gonna then use the Ogre Dance in order to add myself a Deer Note. I'm gonna do the same thing again here. I'm gonna use Deer Note to reveal the Ze Amin and then special summon it. That way I get to make some punk plays without using my normal summon, but my opponent's got a Fiendish Chain to go ahead and stop me there. That's the other reason I'm pretty sure this is a loner deck, because it's got Fiendish Chain instead of like Imperms. Alright, Uni-Zombie's coming out and going to utilize the effect twice. Gonna use one of the level bumps on itself and the other on the hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. That way I'm still able to sync for either 8 or 10 very easily with this Uni-Zombie. Bringing back the Deer Note with the Mezuki to go for a Chaos Ruler. This will trigger both effects. Remember, I do have Zombie World in play, so all monsters in my graveyard are zombies and can be brought back with Mezuki there. Deer Note's going to bring back this Ze Amin. Chaos Ruler is going to do a little bit of excavating here for us. And we managed to find a few, actually 3 really good cards, hitting Kelbek, Keldo, and Mezuki were all very, very good choices there. Or not choices, but you know what I mean. They're all very, very good mills. So Gozuki's going to trigger once it gets milled off of the Kelbek there. Going to utilize the effects to bring out this Uni-Zombie. Now syncing for the Psychic End Punisher. And my opponent just concedes at that point. I'm trying to think if I actually could have gotten lethal there. I don't remember exactly what life my opponent was at, but I could have gone down to 64 by sacking the defense mode Uni-Zombie and banishing their monster. So 64, so 16 plus 35 is 51, plus Uni-Zombie's 13 is 6,400. I think I needed just a little bit more damage, which to be fair, I think I saw the Mezuki left over. Regardless, I think I could have found lethal there if I didn't already have access to it right there. So that is going to go ahead and do it for these Synchro Festival games. I hope you all very much enjoyed them. Again, just want to use something different for both events, and I happen to be able to use Zombie for both events. So again, if you want to see what the Zombie deck for the Anthology event was like, feel free to check out that video posted last week. But that's going to go ahead and do it for the duels. Now let's move on to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now, so without further ado, this is Hexlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.